Well, traditional coaching, and I enjoyed traditional coaching, and it actually helped me to focus, helped me not to be just spread around so thin that I achieve nothing at the end of the day. So traditional coaching is teaching exactly what you are not supporting right now. Let's send a lot of emails. Let's have 200 postcards sent at least once a month to your past clients. Let's get those magnets and just distribute them in your whole neighborhood and so on. Your approach is completely different. You do not really, not that you're against it, but you don't really support traditional coaching because you feel that it's just a band-aid. It's not really a cure for someone.
Yeah, so I want to be very careful in how I word this for you because it's not that I don't support traditional coaching.
Right.
I believe there's a better way.
Better way, yes.
I believe that there's a better way that supports longer term growth for somebody and longer term success, because the best thing about being a real estate agent, and sometimes the worst thing I think, is that your personal life and your business life are deeply intertwined.
That is true. You
Right.
don't have any weekends, right?
Right. But also from the aspect of like your business comes from, right, the people that you know, people those people know. Many times those are people that you know in your community, in your neighborhoods, your neighbors themselves. It's a very intermixed world. And yet what's interesting is I always look at it from this perspective of I look for similarities in the world, right? That's how I interpret and understand things. And when I started studying why does traditional coaching fail, or why does it not really create longer term growth, the most consistent model that exists is traditional real estate coaching most closely marries the healthcare industry.
Okay.
Did you know that?
It's similar, right?
It's very similar. So how is it similar? You have high cholesterol. You go to a doctor. What does the doctor do?
Prescribe you some medicine.
That's right. And your cholesterol goes down. Now, what happens if you stop taking the pill?
I'm back to the doctor.
Right? And this process is treating symptoms. The healthcare industry treats symptoms because that's where all the money is, right? In that infinity loop of back and forth through that, you're only ever treating the symptom. The doctor doesn't sit down and say, what are you eating? How are you eating? What type of exercise do you do? Most doctors don't involve themselves in most of that stuff, right? Because if you started fundamentally trying to help someone change behaviorally, now you're treating the causes, right? And if you help someone fix the cause, do they need to keep coming back to you?
Yeah.
So the idea here is when you look at coaching, much of coaching, and again, there's nothing wrong with this function per se, it's just that much of coaching is built currently around treating symptoms, right? Business is slow, anxiety comes up in an agent, because remember, it's a comparison industry. Everything that you do in real estate is comparison thinking. And in that, you feel this pressure, so you go to a coach. It's great, there's accountability, they give you things to do, the scripts, make these phone calls, here's what you say, here's what you do, and you do that stuff. And guess what? Business goes up. But what happens when you stop coaching?
Yeah.
Right? Because we didn't address the original behavior of why are you not doing it? What's the fear that comes up? What's happening in your life? Right? Why is time management difficult? We're not addressing any of that. So therefore, you're back in that infinity loop of having to go to someone to help them build that back up to then all of a sudden, right? The best engagement, I think, with people is to simplify that process down to helping them from a behavioral aspect understand what's the smallest, simplest thing that I can do that produces the highest return on my investment, both personally and professionally, and then allow them to get really good at just that. We're always trying to change people. Do more of this, do less of this. Do more of that, do less of that. The reality of it is you're fine the way you are. You're absolutely fine as is. Guess what? We just need to sand the edges a little bit, right? Tweak this one little piece and help you cut that noise down. And the answer isn't make 200 more phone calls to people. Think about it. Agents operate from a place of overwhelm, anxious, stressed, right? All the emotions they're pulling in from all their clients, all these different people, all the things that are constantly changing, their engagement, their personal life, their family life, all these things are swirling. They're already operating in a frenetic state. And when you're anxious and you go to someone, should they be telling you, here's 20 more things you should be doing right now?
Right.
The logic doesn't necessarily always line up with those things.
So they should probably direct you and find what's the best in you, about you, and use it to grow and use all your positive qualities. I'm just thinking about myself and being focused. That was my problem. And instead of probably going twice a month to a coach, please remind me, what should I do to be focused? Is to focus on myself, concentrate, find what's so great about myself and how I can improve my direction of being focused and not spread myself thin.
Right. Well, and the first thing to do is to understand what's all the stuff you're doing, and do you even need to be doing all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is all of that necessary? What's the actual return on all that stuff? Is it really producing anything? And then you want to begin to understand, what is it that's coming up when you start thinking about certain things? What is the fear? What's the anxiety? What are the stresses? What are those things? Because remember, the amazing part of the real estate business itself is that it is highly dysfunctional from top to bottom. Really think about it. A transaction has like 6 different people in 3 different industries involved in it already.
Exactly, yeah.
Each one of those different industries, their job is to keep their portion as complicated as possible, because that's what keeps them doing what they're doing. And then you've got all these disruptors around that are talking about, we're going to simplify things and we're going to make this easier and we're going to eliminate the agent and blah, 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 and all this other stuff, right? When the truth of the matter is, as you said, go back to relationships. At the end of the day, what does the average consumer need? The consumer needs a Sherpa. They need a guide. They don't need someone climbing the mountain for them. They don't need someone to say, hey, I've got all the information. Only I have this special information, because that's not true anymore. Everybody has the information.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it might be wrong, but they need a Sherpa. They need the guide up the mountain that says, you don't really want to go make a right there. Or time to get your jacket because there's a storm coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's the role and the new function of what an agent needs to do. That is highly relationship driven, and that's built predominantly around trust. But we're already in a process, right, of thinking about how do we begin to focus on trust. And it's like, my favorite saying in real estate, I mean this facetiously, is I'm a trusted advisor.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If I need to tell you, it's okay, you can trust me. Guess what? There's a problem there, right? If you went in to purchase something and it was a very large purchase and someone said to you like, hey, so nice to meet you. Guess what? You can trust me. I'm your trusted advisor here. You'd be like, okay, thanks for playing. I'm out of here. I'm not going to do this anymore.
You
right?
know, we have this Russian radio station here in New York. It's out of Brooklyn. And there are several, actually, attorneys. And they always start with, you can trust me.
Yeah.
I'm a trusted attorney.
Yeah,
and
right?
then the first thing, like, there is no way I will ever call your number.
Exactly, right? It's all about experience. And it's amazing because, again, it is this idea that we need to convince people of something. And listen, I could talk all day about the psychology behind where that comes from and why it happens. But the truth of the matter is, relationships are built on trust. That's not new, right? That's an old school thing. But we're not focused on where does that trust come from, right? In real estate, we come from this defensive position where I have to convince you that I'm worthy of something, rather than me putting the best of who I am forward and then allowing you to make the decision if the best of who I am fits and aligns with your needs. That's the whole shooting match. And if you say no, that's not a reflection on me being a bad person, or I didn't do this, or I failed at a listing presentation, or that's a false narrative that goes through almost everybody's head. The truth of the matter is, if I put the best of who I am forward for somebody and I leave it all on the table, and I'm passionate about knowing that's really what I love doing and what I'm great at, and it's not right for you, guess what? Awesome, I get to move on, because is that going to be a healthy relationship if I transform who I am to fit your needs? When's the last time you ever went on a date with someone? Well, you've been married a long time, so bad example, but when was the last time anybody went on a date with someone and was like, hi, I know we just met. What do you need me to be? Because I'm going to change everything about myself to fit what you need. Like, that doesn't work, right?
It doesn't work at
Yet,
all.
what do? It's the first thing we present to people. What do you need? What can you want to sell your house for a ridiculous amount of money that's not real? Okay, let's do that together. Like, it's just,